I'm Charlie Smith, editor of Pancouver. Today I'm pleased to be joined by mixed media artist and art educator Peisen Ding. Peisen is a former BC Culture Days ambassador. He's a multilingual queer artist from Nanjing, China. Peisen's artistic practice explores relationships between people and the built environment in a variety of ways. He's also the artist in residence at Branscombe House. Thanks for joining me, Peisen.
Thank you for having me here, Charlie.
My pleasure. Can you start by explaining your artistic practice? What are you trying to do through your art?
Yeah, my art practice mainly focus on the urban relationships. For example, my relationship with people around me, my relationship with the built environments. Because I grew up in a city, so I often curious about how I can relate to my surroundings, and then also during my younger time when I was studying art, I used to be asked to explore the city while I'm on bus or while I'm commute to somewhere else. So I've been always interested in exploring relationships with my surroundings.
And you use a variety of mediums. And can you talk about the different ways in which you express yourself through art?
Yeah, so I think I think it's because of my art background. Because when I was a kid, my father taught me Chinese landscape painting and also calligraphy. And then when I'm growing older, I gradually studied for example, painting, oil painting, acrylic painting, different types of art mediums. So I'm familiar with like a lots of art mediums, and I think after I practice more and more, I found it's more interesting to explore certain concepts. And then when I'm exploring those concepts, the mediums come to my process organically. So it's kind of more like I don't choose the art medium, but I explore concept, or sometimes I do express my feelings. So I think about what kind of mediums might be the perfect fit for that art project particularly. So that's why I embrace different types of art mediums, and yeah, that's kind of how I
And
um,
which ones, like, I know you do painting, you do photography, you've worked with ceramics. Are there other areas?
um currently currently I'm working on photography. I have an art project focusing on photography, and I'm also doing painting and then ceramics. Yes. Apart from these three, I think sometimes I also do illustrations. So it depends. It depends on the art projects. But I would say my primary medium would be painting, and yeah, painting, I would say.
And you're one of the featured artists at the Vancouver Outsider Arts Festival. And this takes place October 11th to 13th at the Roundhouse Community Arts and Recreation Center. And what are you planning to present at this event, Payson? Have you figured it out yet?
Yeah, I'm presenting 10 of my recent works. And like all of them are painting, but one of the painting is called Into the Fogs. So it will present a kind of like mysterious landscape with fog or mountains, or it's kind of expressive, so it's not that concrete or realistic. So people can just look at it and then interpret in their own way. But it's also mixed with not just painting like acrylic, but also some other materials to make it more, um, how do you say? I don't want to say too much, but
Okay, you don't have to give it all away. Like, way that it does
yeah,
sounds very interesting.
yeah. I also use the Chinese ink for that painting. So and also some paper materials. So it's just mix of different things to to complete that painting. Yeah.
And I'm curious about your thoughts about how art can build connections or build bridges between people from different cultures.
Um, As I said before, I really like to explore my surroundings, also my relationship with others. So many of my paintings involves different kind of feelings, like how I feel about my relationship with my partner, how I feel about um, my social anxieties, even sometimes. I think art is really a good way for, at least for me, to connect with people, because I think it allows me um, to to share love in a way, and also share different emotions. For example, sometimes I do paintings for my friends, and then sometimes I use painting or photography to explore my relationship with others. So in a way, I think in a way, for myself, I can explore relationships, and then also sometimes I do gift people with my work, and I think it just involves different ways of connecting with people. And then for culture, I think it's similar, because I've been living in Canada for quite a long time, like almost it's about 6 years, and I found it's really nice, because I got the chance to meet people from different part of the world. And then for example, I have close friends from Central America. I also have close friends from India. So when meeting people with different cultural backgrounds, it's really nice to know about them, and also know about the culture. And then based on my life experience or my lived experience, I got to do art. And then that's also more exciting, because I can do art, connect people around me. Yeah.
Interesting. And how did you first become interested in art?
Yeah. Uh, I started to learn art when I was very young. I was like 5 years old, and then my father started to introduce me Chinese traditional art, and then I just got interested, because I at that time, I think I was a little kid, like I didn't really know much, but I just followed my father's teaching path. And then after like a few years, I found it's interesting, because it's a different way of learning things than what I was being taught in schools. So I could to do things more visually or more expressive. That's why I started to fall in love with art, and I also found that art can be connected to different parts of lives. That's also it keeps me like doing it. Yeah.
And you grew up in Nanjing, and it's the capital of Jiangsu province. And can you talk about the history of Nanjing and why it's so significant in Chinese history and culture?
Yeah. Um, Nanjing, I think so. Based on what I know, Nanjing has served as capitals of several Chinese dynasties. Um, I think there are six. And The most famous one could be the Ming Dynasty. And it was also the capital of the Republic of China before 1947. 1949. So it has a long history being the political and cultural center. Um, that's I think maybe that's why it helped itself shape, like itself to be the artistic, kind of an artistic center of China for some times. And during different dynasties, it always bring, like if it's the capital of the dynasty, it always um, bring poets, painters, or scholars to come to visit. And then that's how the city becomes kind of thrived for arts and culture. Um, and Yeah, and also because of the it was the capital of several cities, several dynasties. I think there will be significant there was significant architectural development in my city as well. For example, we have city walls, which is similar to the Great Wall from Beijing, and then we also have temples. We also have like famous constructions of Ming, the tombs for Ming emperors, and then yeah, so we have like arts in different perspectives.
Yeah,
For
so the
example,
art is kind of almost embedded within the culture and the DNA of Nanjing, through ancestry and everything. And how did growing up in Nanjing inform your artistic practice, Jason?
um,
Or did it?
I I found it's interesting. So for me, because I was growing up in a Chinese city, and I consider it's very a quite Chinese city, like very local and then very traditional in a way. So I found my art practice was shaped during my travels. I mean, not just from my city, but also how I traveled abroad, how I lived in different cities in the world. For
You've
example,
spent time in the UK too,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, sorry. So I think it's my experience in different cities that shaped my art practice. Because I used to learn traditional Chinese art back in my city. I also learned different crafts in the UK, and then when I came to Canada, Vancouver, I was also introduced to different types of art. So um, I think this kind of traveling experience, or maybe you can call it immigration experience, um, give some unique voice to my art practice, I would say.
Yeah. And what was it that led you to come to Canada? Because you were in the UK, and um, did you prefer Canada, or was it
Oh,
prestige?
yeah. I came to Vancouver to study, and so I was enrolled in a program about art education. So it's combining visual arts
Mhm.
with education at UBC, and so that's my primary reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
But gradually, I also fall in love with Canada because how people are accepting like immigrants or BIPOC, and I just feel like as a queer artist, it's really nice to live in Vancouver because everyone is so nice, and then I can really be myself.
And Vancouver also, it has many Chinese communities. They sometimes say the Chinese Canadian community, but there's actually communities in a lot of ways, because you have people, their families came from Hong Kong 100 years ago or more. You have Chinese Canadians from Southeast Asia, Philippines, China. And I'm wondering what it was like for you to kind of land in Vancouver and to see such a diverse population of people who trace their roots back to China.
Um, it's it's amazing. It's always good to see this kind of diversity. Because I think if there's a place has a high diverse groups, that means this place also have more acceptance or care towards different kind of groups. And I feel that's how Vancouver has been so attractive to different um, to people with different backgrounds.
And what was the biggest adjustment for you in coming to Canada,
Um, uh, Adjustment. I
or
guess,
challenge?
yeah, I guess it could be the situation of renting houses. Because back to my home country, I didn't have to rent a place. I just live with my parents or my grandparents. So here, I'm mostly on my own. Of course, I have my partner with me. But it's more like I think that can be difficult.
It's like securing housing and
That
all of that. Yeah.
that's
So it wasn't the transit system. And one of the things, because this is part of our series we're calling Beyond Chinese, and we want to kind of go beyond stereotypes and show the different, the many layers of our Chinese community in Vancouver. And I'm wondering if there are any stereotypes that you would like to address that or falsehoods. You're from China, and if there's anything people might think about people from China that is just false or that doesn't correspond with your reality.
Mm. One thing I noticed about maybe me or I don't know if I can speak for most of the Chinese people,
Yeah.
but I feel I tend to be I don't like arguments, and I tend to be more quiet in a social setting. It's not really because I don't like to hang out with, or I don't like to interact with um, people I just met, or I don't like to talk. It's more I don't know how to explain. It's so when I was receiving education in China, we were taught we should be polite, and then we should be avoiding arguments, and then we should think about both sides. For example, if there's an argument, we should think about side A maybe have some valued points, and side B maybe also has some valued points. So I don't really like to take a strong side. And I noticed some of my Chinese friends, they do like this as well. So I think it's more about a cultural or educational background thing, rather than because I heard some, like, sometimes people, like, not in Canada, I heard some news from the US, and then talking about Chinese people are just like, they don't speak up for themselves. Like, if you think about protest, there is no protest in China, something like that. Why, like, sometimes I heard, like, why you Chinese people, you don't like to speak up for yourself. I don't think it's true that we don't like to speak up for ourselves. We just think that if we did something good, people will know it eventually. And then if we don't have to stand up for conflict or arguments. So maybe it's kind of like
Do you think
background.
I wonder, do you think there's, culturally, if this is related at all to Confucianism or any of the kind of historical philosophical traditions in China?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree, and and I'm so glad you mentioned it because it was in back of my mind as well. Yeah. So during the long history of China, we have like people have been influenced by different a lot of different philosophical.
There's Taoism and Confucianism
Exactly.
and all these different streams. Yeah.
Exactly. So most of them, like, I know Confucius thoughts, they are very like gentle, and then they, I don't think they support kind of, I don't know how to explain, but it
Yeah.
is related. Yeah.
Yeah. And now to get back to art, what can we in the West learn from Chinese art?
From Chinese art.
Yeah.
Um,
Or is there anything you'd like to say for people who might not understand Chinese art, something that stands out for you?
to me, I think so. In Western art or oil painting, or realistic paintings, we have sometimes called one point perspective. Um, if my translation is correct. But in Chinese, we don't have those kind of perspectives in terms of that kind of perspective in terms of painting. It's more we have a different system in terms of landscape painting, and then it allows you to have different focus points, and then it kind of, to me, it's more expressive. It's more about combining how I feel, how I imagine myself in this landscape or in this space, and then paint it in that way. So
So does that mean if there's something in the landscape that stands out to you, like let's say a tree or a mountain peak, you make that prominent, but it isn't necessarily in the same linear perspective as it might appear in the West?
exactly, yes.
Yeah, interesting. Now, is there anything else you'd like to add? Payson has been you've been very informative.
I think for me, I want to mention is that like I've been creating like works or art projects focusing on the theme about, let's say, home, such as home or care, because I think as an artist and also as an immigrant, sometimes it's not that easy to pursue what you want in a in a foreign place. So I just want to say that but I just want to say it is not that easy, but it's important that you keep following your dream, and then you put efforts there, and then I just want to say you can do it at the end. So I just want to say that.
Well, thank you so much, Payson. It's been very educational. And so I've been speaking to mixed media artist Peisen Ding. He's one of the featured artists at the Vancouver Outsider Art Festival. It's at the Roundhouse Community Arts and Recreation Center from October 11th to 13th.